So we can't.
Are y'all ready?
Yep.
Commissioners Court is now in session. It is Monday, November the 16th, 2020, 9 o'clock in the morning. And the court is in session. This is a special meeting. First item on the agenda is for everybody to turn off your cell phones or at least your library. Second item on the agenda is any public input for a matter not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the court? There being none, then we go to commissioners' comments. We'll start with Precinct 1.
I don't have anything to say.
Precinct 2?
Yeah, it's going to be on the agenda, but not in specifically. But as we canvass the votes, it's my understanding the county attorney is here. As soon as the votes are canvassed and the court order is issued, then alcoholic beverages can be sold in precinct 2. Is that correct?
For those folks who
Have a
are
license.
able to,
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that, yeah. And I think some people have already applied for their license and perhaps haven't. So, that's good news for precinct 2.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it.
Precinct 3.
Just dry. Hopefully some rain this weekend. Looks like
Oh, we got 200s.
more than we did. That's it. Nothing else, Judge.
Precinct 4.
Commissioner Harris, any comments?
Nothing going on to speak of. We had a fundraiser for a young man yesterday at Eagle Park. I'm out of town. I haven't heard how that went, but that's about all I got. Need a little rain.
Thank you.
Okay. I see we've got Dub Thomas in the courtroom, and on behalf of the county, I do want to advise everyone, my glasses are fogging up, so I'll take them off, that on November the 5th, we had 86 active cases, COVID cases. As of last Friday, we have 136. I haven't seen the weekend count, but that's a 58% increase in 1 week. And that is cause for concern. And you can see I have a mask on today. We are socially distanced in the courtroom. I'm doing this mainly to emphasize the importance of wearing the mask, especially during this spike. I visited with our emergency management coordinator, Dub Thomas, who's here in the courtroom. We're expecting another spike after the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday. Probably another spike during the Christmas party season, and another one after the Christmas and New Year's holidays. So we'll probably have at least 2 or 3 spikes ahead of where we are today. So the quicker we can get a handle on this and manage it, the better. So with that, let's begin the agenda. Item 1.1, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve Thomson Reuters West Profile 24-month contract to renew December 1, 2020 for Kerr County Law Library and have County Judge sign same. Don Lance.
I don't see Don, Judge.
This is kind of routine, isn't
This is a routine
it?
contract.
I would move for approval.
And I've reviewed it.
Okay.
Second.
So the motion's been made by Commissioner Ballou, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve the renewing of the Thomson Reuters contract for 24 months. The contract has been reviewed by the county attorney. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor? And abstain? I'm abstaining. 1.2, and that's because I don't have Westlaw. I'm still protesting that.
Don't have one?
Westlaw.
Oh.
1.2, canvass the official election results for the special election on November 3, 2020, to legalize the legal sale of all alcoholic beverages, including mixed beverages, for the District of Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, as per TEC Section 67. Nadine Alford and Bob Reeves.
Good morning, gentlemen. I passed out the canvas and the final results or official results for the local option election, JP Precinct 2. They're before you. I will leave it up to court's discretion if they'd like it read into the record or ask the clerk to copy this verbatim into the order.
I think for purposes of the record, it would probably be good to go ahead and read it into the record so that we do have an official record of it.
It's perfectly okay. I'll read this one, then I'll leave the second canvas with the lengthy ones up to the court. Voting for, 5,641. Voting against, 1,226. Undervotes, 480. Overvotes, 1.
Remind me what an overvote is.
An overvote, they voted for and against it. It's simple terms.
Bob, did you say what the issue was? Did you say that at first? I didn't hear you.
I'll state it again. I did say it's the local option election, JP precinct number 2 for the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Okay, good deal.
Okay. And then we've got the other one that we'll give to the clerk to enter for the order.
This one, we accept the, or approve?
Nadine, it's approved, is it?
Yes.
Approved that this is the official canvas, so please approve.
I make a motion that we approve the official canvass of the local option election, Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, Proposition A.
Second.
And the motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the canvass of the local option election for liquor in precinct 2, the sale of liquor in precinct 2. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 301.
Well, Don's on the line, isn't he?
Can you hear us?
Don?
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. 401. Okay, next item, what you got? Next one is,
So we have one
1.3?
voting no?
huh?
It was, you said.
No, I'm abstaining.
Oh, you're abstaining, okay, got it, okay.
Item 1.3, canvass the official election results for the 2020 November general election as per TEC 67.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, before you are the official results from the general election held on November 3rd, 2020. These are all of the races that were on the ballot with the exception of, as I pointed out, you just approved the canvass on the local option. Then any city or school elections will be canvassed by their appropriate authorities. So, in other words, these are the results from the county, state, and federal elections. I have given a copy to each one of you, and the clerk of the court has one.
Move to accept the canvass results,
Second.
election results.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the canvass of the general election voting results. Any discussion?
I know it's time consuming, but I think historically we have read the final results of each of the races.
Okay.
You're right.
Sorry.
You're gonna read them?
Sorry, Bob.
I'll read them.
Okay.
President and Vice President Donald J. Trump and Michael R. Pence received 20,879. Joseph R. Biden and Kamala D. Harris, 6,524. Joe Jorgensen, Jeremy Spike Cohen, 283. Howie Hawkins, Angela Walker, 51. Abram Lowe, Jennifer Jarala, 1. Brian Carroll, Amar Patel, 4. Gloria Riva, Leonard Peltier, 2. Jesse Cuellar and Jimmy Monreal, 0. Casey Wells, Rachel Wells, 1. President R. Bodie and Eric C. Stonen, 0. Robert Morrow and Beckett, 0. Todd Sella and Tim Sella, 0. And Tom Heffling and Andy Prio, 0. United States Senator John Cornyn, 21,022. Mary M.J. Hagar, 5,946. Kerry Douglas McKinnon, 446. David B. Collins, 128. And Ricardo Turlois Bonilla, 1. United States Representative, District 21, Chip Roy, 20,693. Wendy R. Davis, 6,097. Arthur DeBianca, 406. And Tommy Wakely, 215. Railroad Commissioner, James Jim Wright, 20,497. Krista Castaneda, 5,847. Matt Starrett, 566. Katia Cap Green, 249. Chief Justice Supreme Court, Nathan Heck, 20,622. Amy Clark Meacham, 5,975. Mark Ash, 589. Justice Supreme Court, place number 6, unexpired term, Jane Bland, 21,139. Kathy Chung, 5,872. Justice Supreme Court, place number 7, Jeff Boyd, 20,678. Stacey Williams, 5,872. William Bryan Strange, 543. Justice Supreme Court, place 8, Brett Busby, 20,696. Grisella Triana, 5,753. Tom Oxford, 612. Judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, place number 3, Burt Richardson, 20,921. Elizabeth Davis Frizzell, 6,063. Judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, place 4, Kevin Patrick Yeary, 20,996. Tina Clinton, 5,939. Judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, place 9, David Newell, 21,113. Brandon Birmingham, 5,800. Member, State Board of Education, District Number 5, Lanny Pop, 20,539. Rebecca Bell Metro, 5,642. Stephanie Berlin, 828. State Senator, District 24, Dawn Buckingham, 21,171. Clayton Tucker, 5,799. State Representative, District Number 53, Andrew S. Murr, 21,203. Joe P. Herrera, 5,778. Chief Justice, 4th Court of Appeals District, Renee Yanta, 20,707. Rebecca Martinez, 6,095. District Judge, 216th Judicial District, Albert D. Pat Patil III, 22,957. District Attorney, 198th Judicial District, Stephen Harpold, 22,499. District Attorney, 216th Judicial District, Lucy Wilkie, 22,749. Sheriff Larry Letha, 22,330. Warren Funk, 3,361. County Commissioner Precinct Number 1, Harley David Ballou, 5,426. Conrad Wirt, 1,101.
Good.
A question to Bob Reeves. Were there any protests from the election?
Protest?
Yeah, challenges,
Recounts?
Not at
recount?
the local level. We were just informed about 45 minutes ago that there will be a recount in the city of Ingram elections. The recount will be conducted by the city of Ingram as they are the canvassing authority.
Okay.
We will be present as we are the custodians of the ballots.
Okay, another question. Do we use Dominion hardware?
No.
Okay, thanks.
State of Texas doesn't use it
Next.
at all, right?
I'm not sure what else is in the state of Texas. We use-
Last comment. Thank you and Nadine and all your crew. Great job.
Very good job.
It's all donating and my team, and I'll tell you a story about some hairy things that we went through, but we made it through.
Okay, good.
Most stressful election I think Nadine's ever been through, time and effort, and I don't know how my staff did it, but they managed.
And how many separate ballots were there?
13,
13 separate ballots.
13, 14.
Good job.
Good job.
Did we approve this already?
No, we need to vote.
We need to vote. Okay, I need a motion.
I move for approval.
I think I made
Yeah,
it.
he made the motion.
I made the
Okay, I'll
motion.
second
Yeah,
that.
I think he seconded it. I seconded it better.
So the motion's made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Baloo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Those in favor of approving the general election canvass results, raise your hand. Don?
Yes.
Okay, 5-0. Next item on the agenda.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Is 1.4, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to add iPause, Integrated Public Alert Warning System, to our current Code Red contract. Now, Thomas.
Morning, Judge, morning, Commissioners.
Like that Judge just read, IPAWS is the Integrated Public Alert Warning System. It's run by FEMA. And it's an umbrella for several different types of communication systems that we can use along with our Code Red to notify folks when they're here in Kerr County about a flood, fire, whatever. Maybe they don't have Code Red, but this is a nationwide system and we can use it here publicly. For us, it is free. And Kerr County has been blessed by being with Code Red for so long that we get a lot of stuff like that free. And it doesn't change our contract, so we will never have to bid on the, it will never change the cost of our contract as it stands.
Do we download the app for iPaws like we do for Code Red?
No, it'll already
Or,
be,
not an app, but to register, or,
no, it'll be automatically added to my system, to the system that the county has.
okay,
And then it goes out through cell phones for emergency alert system, NOAA's weather system as well, their national system as well.
okay. Does it, so if you're Code Red, you don't have to do anything different?
You don't have to do a thing.
Okay, good deal, thanks.
Will you be notified of regional stuff, national stuff, or I don't get what you would be notified of?
Well, this just, we've been trying to get a new flood warning system here. We haven't been able to do it. So this is just another method of being able to communicate emergencies or disasters type information to the public when they're here. And they're not from here, they don't have Code Red. Maybe they've got some other system, but this is a national system that Code Red will have us access to.
We're still trying on the flood warning.
Well, I'm trying to
Sure.
get it in
I said,
my,
we're still trying on
We're
the
still
flood
trying
warning.
for
The
that.
easiest way, Hardy, to explain it is, say you're traveling through this area, and we've had something happen here. It could still notify you if we send it out, because you're not from here. You're not a Code Red, quote, but because it's national, it catches, what they had, like years ago, they had a chemical truck flip over in Kimball County. Okay, it messes with the whole interstate and everybody traveling through. It could notify people traveling through. That's what helps.
so really what I'm kind of trying to ask is, if there's a flood in Illinois, am I gonna get notified of that?
No,
You want to go ahead and knock
So it's gonna be our area.
it's just yes, only when I use it locally. If I use Code Red, then I'll be able to once I'm taking the webinar for it, but it'll show me how to access that iPaws system via Code Red.
Okay, did anybody make the motion? I'll make the motion.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Baloo, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve and add the iPaws Integrated Public Alert and Warning System to our current Code Red contract. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0.
Yay.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank y'all.
I'm going to call items 1.5 and 1.6 together because they're related topics. Item 1.5 is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding county policy regarding the use of the courthouse grounds and consequences for violations. And 1.6 is to discuss Kerr County Veterans Day celebration.
I will tell you real quick, Judge, the county attorney has stepped down to her office to get her copy of the policy on courthouse square use. I don't know if you can wait till she gets back up here.
I think we can go ahead and start with Marty's part of it, 1.6.
Before Marty speaks, I'd like to say something. Because Marty's going to talk about some of the things she did on Veterans Day. And I think we all support veterans. We have veteran service officers that the county has established to help facilitate that. Wait for the, I'm waiting. I support the Patriots and their conservative policies, and I support what we're doing in the county for helping with COVID prevention and minimizing that. And that's all good. Things that are not good is when we cause confusion with the veterans of not knowing about events. Veteran service officer didn't know about it. Liaison commissioner didn't know about it. It caused confusion, and confusion is not a critical thing, but it's not good, okay? And I think that we need to think about that when we do things like this. And I didn't know about it till after it was over, okay? The judge said something about it on Wednesday morning about there may be an impromptu gathering. But anyway, I think we need to work as a community together to, especially on a day when we're honoring vets and working in an environment where there's COVID-related stuff. So that's what I want to say on that. And I'll let Marty talk about what she did during following that same day.
Yes, sir. Previously, before COVID kicked off, we were going to do a bigger event for veterans because of some of our veterans being a vulnerable age. We decided not to do that. In lieu of that, we had other events around Kerr County. They were doing social distancing, wearing masks and things. So we kind of sent our vets that way. When anyone would call our office, we just said we didn't have anything available. We were one of the assisted living facilities in town wanted to do something for their veterans, but they were kind of unsure what to do because they couldn't bring them out in public. Of course, we didn't want to expose them, so I said, give me their names, branches of service, and if they served in any sort of conflict, and I'm going to put something together for them. And so I did name tags, put their branch of service on there, if they're Vietnam vets, and we provided these books for them that were free of charge to the governor's office. That way they can celebrate. We had no contact with them. That way they were able to still participate in Veterans Day and be appreciated without being at risk. And so that's kind of what we did this year. Anyone that reached out to us, we try to just include veterans as much as we can without exposing them to anything, because that's our top priority. All we do in our office is benefits for veterans, dealing with the atrocities they dealt with while in service, the exposures they had, and so we would definitely not be the first ones to, again, expose them to something if it's not necessary. And so this year we just kind of played it safe, and we weren't aware of what happened. I only found out with my assistant Jennifer after the fact, and it took us by surprise as well. So.
Well, thanks for what you did,
Yes,
or what you did.
Yes, sir.
Martin, thank you.
Well, I'd like to get the record clear. When was it you came to us and presented your proposal of how to handle Veteran Day celebrations this year? A couple of months ago?
Yes, sir. It was a few weeks beforehand. We essentially just wanted to decorate the courthouse. We didn't want to do anything, face to face, given the situation and the short amount of time and finances and kind of the COVID count was up. And so, in our office personally, we are taking a lot of heat for only doing phone interviews. We're very short on doing face-to-face interviews, but when we do, it's 6 feet. Everyone wears a mask. So to have an event on top of everything else just didn't make sense to us this year.
But if you would, tell the public what your recommendation to the court was.
Our recommendation was not to have an event this year. It was simply just to decorate the courthouse.
But she also identified all the things that were planned at that time. That was the key thing.
Yeah, there were other things going on.
Right.
And the reason for your recommendation was to protect the safety and health of the veterans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion about that? I don't know.
That was Marty's determination.
Yes.
Yes. It was her decision to make solely, and she decided not to have an event at the courthouse.
Well, and we
No,
voted
she
on-
brought that to the court.
She brought that
Said
to
that's
the
our
court,
plan.
and her recommendation was not to do anything,
That's
And
right.
to identify all the things that were planned.
and to let the veterans
And,
know what else.
and
was
asked
going
that if we knew of anything else to let her know.
on. Right.
So I don't think it was Marty's, I think it was the court.
It was the court.
The court.
It was her recommendation, as the judge said, and her, you know, she had basically, well, she's the one that would have run it. So we
Right.
said, okay,
Right.
we agree.
Right.
So the public knows what we're talking about. I received a text on Tuesday. Let me see if I can get my phone open here. I'll open it up in a minute, but I received a text on Tuesday about noon. I was just going into the HEB tour, when they took us over there for the tour on last Tuesday, that the Patriots wanted to do an impromptu gathering at the courthouse. And the policy, I believe, I'm sure the county attorney is going to clarify this for us, is that in order to have use of the courthouse grounds officially, you have to come to the Commissioner's Court and get approval. And I pointed out that that approval had not been obtained. Also, when you have an outside gathering of 10 persons or more, the governor's order GA 32 requires that it be approved. If it's going to be more than 10 people, it's going to be approved by the county judge and mayor. And I pointed that out, that they didn't have the, and you'll know that I require a COVID safety plan. And the COVID safety plan is to encourage the use of masks, social distancing, to try to protect the health of the participants in the gathering. And they didn't have that either. And I texted that back to the anonymous phone number that I have, and I heard no response until I read a Facebook post by Ramon Garcia that says they're going to have an event at the courthouse at 11, and it says face coverings are not mandatory. I actually had a committee meeting that Wednesday morning. I was here at the courthouse. I went out to observe the gathering. I'm going to say there were probably at least 50, 60 people, maybe more, I don't know exactly. I did see a couple of masks, maybe 2 or 3, but that's about all. And with the active COVID rates jumping 58% in the course of this period of time, I don't think that was prudent, and I don't think that that was an authorized gathering. By happenstance, I bumped into Jerry Wolf at Buzzy's, getting some barbecue afterwards, and we talked about it. And I acknowledged that citizens have the right to come on public grounds because this is a courthouse and it's public grounds. But they don't necessarily have the right to gather without the Commissioner's Court approval, and certainly not to gather during this COVID time without some sort of safety plan in place. And I advised him that I would put this on the agenda. And the purpose that I put it on the agenda, the 1.5 part, is to clarify so that we all know what the policy is, and then to discuss what do we do when people violate the policy. Right now, it looks like nothing's being enforced out there. It's kind of chaos. People do what they want to do, even if it's unsafe. And I think that I'm bringing this to the public's attention because I think that gathering was unsafe, and I think it was unwise. But I am, as the sole veteran on this court, I highly approve of any support for our veterans. As Marty knows, it's near and dear to my heart. 77 years ago this month, my dad was sleeping in a hammock in the Solomon Islands, where he laid the landing strip at Bougainville out under fire. So this is near and dear to my heart. But at the same time, we have to be prudent, and we especially have to be prudent during times of COVID. So what I'm really interested in is initiating a discussion on how do we handle this when they don't come and get permission from the Commissioner's Court, and when they don't meet the COVID safety plan requirements. What do we do? Just ignore it?
Courthouse belongs to the taxpayers. And we have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, so that's where I stand on it.
That's it.
Commissioner Harris, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to, and I think Commissioner Mosier kind of summed it up at the beginning when he said there was confusion, and I agree with that. I heard from a couple of people, and they had thought, and they had thought that because we were not under the emergency declaration for the county anymore, that they didn't have to come. And that's wrong. And I told a couple people that, no, they need to still get approval because of the governor's order for the safety during this virus period and what have you. But having said that, I was there. I mean, when veterans get together and what have you, and many of them in walkers and what have you, I showed up and participated in it. Now, was it the right way to do it? No, but I think it's the right thing to do, being Veterans Day, and I heard it, since they started it as an impromptu, they got word out to different ones, and it was kind of hard to call it back in and say, no, it's off, after they found out, no, they hadn't gone through the proper channels. So that's my 2 cents worth. It was gone about the wrong way, but it was all for a good reason. And that kind of sums up what I have to say.
I was there too. I didn't think that it was unsafe or there was anything wrong with what happened. The people that wanted to wear masks wore masks. There was no event there. We didn't have an official county event. The citizens of Kerr County decided, some of them, to put on an impromptu event at a place that wasn't being used. I don't see what the harm is. But I don't know what the policy, I don't remember all of the policy that we came up with. I remember the discussion about food trucks and certain events and for-profit and non-profit and all of that, but I don't remember all the particulars on use of the, regardless of whether there's an emergency being called or not, we have a policy for the courthouse.
Did you only know
Yes, I
about
would like
it
to hear
through,
it.
did you only know about it through Facebook?
I knew about it through word of mouth, and so
Somebody called or something?
yeah.
Yeah,
just
they
for
didn't
people.
call all the commissioners.
Yeah. But the idea that, I think I feel like I'm hearing the feathers got ruffled because people weren't informed. But again, you had an empty spot out there at the courthouse that we hadn't officially used. And it was, believe me, I was there, it was impromptu. And, but it was a good event, it was heartfelt. Veterans were there, a veteran spoke, and there were some patriotic songs. Everybody went home.
I don't see how it was impromptu if it was planned. Now,
Well, it was
I'm not
planned.
against it happening.
It was let's say spur of the moment rather than impromptu. Impromptu would imply that it happened that day.
Right.
It was
planned, and
yeah.
a number of people in the community were obviously advised. I didn't hear anything about it, and I was out of town that day, it wouldn't make a difference.
I didn't hear anything. Veteran service officer didn't hear anything.
But, that's a different, I think that the issue of the judges isn't really that event as much as it is the policy, is what the agenda item
Well,
is.
it's the willful, deliberate defiance,
And
disregard of the county policy, disregard of the governor's order, when advised that you need to have a COVID safety plan, completely disregard it.
Most weekends, there's somebody on the corner out there with a sign, and has been since the election or before the election. Is that against the rules? There's 5 or 6, maybe 10 people, 15 people on the street corner out there with their signs, with their banners, whatever, every weekend.
The one thing about that, though, that's not county property. We go through that each year.
Well, it's certainly part of the state of Texas and the governor's order.
It's not county property, it's the state's. The state right away, the state highway department, that's why they do that.
That's the governor's order.
that's
what we're talking about, let's talk about it.
Right. My personal feeling is that they ought to cancel all the emergency declarations nationwide.
I agree.
But I don't have that authority, so,
Well,
and the question then comes, just because you disagree with it, do you disregard it?
No, I understand that. I get it. But if you have an empty space and a bunch of people decide they want to do something, and we're not doing anything official there, it's not being used, we have the right to peaceably assemble according to our First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. We have that right.
nobody
It's-
has abridged that right whatsoever. We do have the right to reasonably regulate how these gatherings occur, and that's what the county policy is. But let me go back and start and share what my concern is. My concern is not being informed. I wasn't informed.
Right.
the day before. And I shared it with Commissioner Harris that day and tapped out. My concern is that it was imprudent and unsafe. We're in the middle of a 58% increase in active COVID cases during the very time that this meeting was held. So I'm interested in whether or not our policy's been violated. I'm interested in whether the court order approving the veterans' recommendations has been violated. I'm interested in whether or not the governor's order's been violated. Because the normal course is when you violate court orders, and this is a commissioner's court, we have court orders that we adopt every week. Normally, if you violate a court order, you're held in contempt of court. There's a subpoena issued for a show cause hearing, and you come in and explain why you did what you did, and if there's good cause for it, then you can be exonerated, and if the court doesn't feel like it's good cause, then they can hold them accountable. That's the normal legal way. If you're really going to follow the rule of law, which seems to be lost in this COVID time, if you're going to follow the rule of law, that's the way it's done. And so I'm just interested in what should the procedure be when we end up in a situation like this.
Well, first of all, have we determined that anything was violated?
Absolutely.
How?
GA 32.
The governor's order.
Yes.
So that would be a state issue then.
Well, I'm the one charged.
That's not an issue for us to take up.
It is for
It
the
is too.
judge.
It is?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So so to enforce the governor's order, then you're asking a question that you have to answer
Well,
yourself.
and I tried to, and I was ignored.
But you haven't gotten down to it. What is the penalty? That's what you're really getting at, isn't it?
Well, I'm
Am I
asking,
missing something?
what is the procedure that we should follow when people deliberately disregard our rules?
Well, I would like to ask
Our
the
orders.
county attorney if there's a particular thing in here you want us to draw our attention to.
So there is a violation provision in here, but I don't think it really applies here. I think that at number 12, you'll see violation of any of these rules or failure to promptly pay for costs incurred by the county for repairing damage to cleanup may be cause for the county to deny an organizer's future use of the courthouse grounds. That's the only part of this that applies to violations, but I don't think that was the concern here. I don't think there's damage to property or trash. I don't think it was left worse than they found it.
No, this is a safety issue. It's not a damage issue.
So this is an issue of the governor's order and you implementing that and determining whether or not there's a penalty for it.
Well, and advertising an event that says face coverings are not mandatory. That's against the law. Whether you decide to put the face mask on, nobody's enforcing that. The sheriff's made that crystal clear.
So I could have said that to
for us, but
somebody
it's
in the
crystal clear.
parking lot. If I had said that to somebody getting out of their car with a face mask in their hand, if I had said to them, and I was present, you don't need that, then would I be in violation then of the governor's order?
That's not assembling.
Well, this is a person on their way there. We're talking about, you're talking about somebody there that I don't know was an organizer or not. You're just talking about hearsay kind of stuff. Somebody
Well,
saying-
I have a history with Ramon Garcia and his disregard for orders.
Well, that's not germane to this, I don't believe. You're talking about whether or not he was an organizer and planned it or whatever. I don't know if he was or not. But his advice on something that was spur of the moment kind of deal, a couple of days, I think I heard about it a day before.
And so when I lawfully fulfill my duties and request a COVID safety plan, and it's disregarded, what should we do? Just give up on safety plans? Let everybody infect each other?
Well, I agree with Commissioner Letts myself. I think all of them ought to be done away with.
But that's not germane to court proceedings today. That's the
He
national
asked
thing.
me a question and I responded
That's
the
a
way I
national
wanted
thing.
to.
That's
And
a
I gave
national
my
thing.
answer.
That's a national thing.
Well, I think the problem is that, and I agree with the judge, is, he's charged with enforcing or implementing, that's probably the better word, the governor's order. The problem is the governor didn't give any penalties in his order. So it's not enforceable to me.
There's not any teeth in it.
And
Now, if
I
I was
don't-
in your position, Judge, I would feel the same way. I said, don't do this, you did it anyway. What am I gonna do about it? Am I gonna be toothless from here on out? People do what they wanna do? Or can we come to an agreement here that, and that's why I take the position I do. This county courthouse belongs to the taxpayers. We have a right to peacefully assemble. I cannot see anywhere that the governor's order supersedes the U.S. Constitution. And these kinds of things have to be tested in order to find out. The only way that we have gotten rid of bad laws is that we challenge bad laws. And in this case, it's not even a law.
But I'm not going to ignore the fact that this court approved with a court order what the plans were for Veterans Day. We did that. Marty presented it, we approved it. And some of us ignored it.
We approved that there wouldn't be anything here.
No, we approved what the events were going to be, Harley.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
What was the event?
You want to
What was the
recite them?
We're gonna get into all of that because we're gonna have.
Well, wait a minute. Those are not our events. You
Yeah.
and I only have, and
She-
this court has
she-
control over events that we put on.
Right.
She gave a list of things that were going on.
They were planned,
Right.
and we were not going to have a parade.
And that had nothing to do with here. There was an empty spot out there.
Okay, so,
There's an empty spot at the Ag Barn every day. It's a public facility.
It has
Can
to
we
be
go
limited.
gather there?
I don't know.
What's a
That's a
public
good
facility? Your argument's a public facility.
Yes, when you can pull in, not in the building, in the parking lot.
The building's a public facility.
Well, you couldn't come in this building that day.
Well, because it was locked.
Right. So is the Ag Barn many days. If I pull up out there, you have a bunch of kids having a tailgate party on Saturday, are they violating the law? Because they're in the parking lot out there? I don't think they are.
Violating the governor's executive order.
and the
But
executive
they're on
order,
county property out there.
the executive order does provide an enforcement provision and says that an offense under particular section of the government code has a fine that comes with it that may not exceed $1,000 and subject to regulatory enforcement. So there's that. But also in the court's order, and that's court order number 36714. That's a policy for use of the courthouse grounds, which I've just given y'all. That does require for people to come to the court and make application, and there's an application, I believe I copied an attached application to come and use the courthouse grounds for events that are greater than 20 people, I believe is the number. Then that's considered an event under the policy. So while this doesn't provide for some kind of violation provision, it does ask for folks to come and make that application to the court. And it doesn't give, I don't believe, a specific time period just prior to the event. The organizers shall get approval from the Kerr County Commissioners Court. So it is through the whole court and not just the county judge. And then they have to do several other things. So there are ways to do it, and it's not necessarily a 30-day time limit. It could be just the Thursday or Friday before the Commissioners Court, so the court has an opportunity to review it. I just wanted to provide that clarification.
Is there anything in this contract about any sort of extenuating or additional circumstances and/or permissions,
I don't think so.
which this would fall under?
This contemplates sort of organization on county employees and officials' parts. Does maintenance need to help provide chairs or electricity or cleanup, mics, things like that could be helpful for events. And then also provides a provision where people need to supply some insurance in the event that something goes wrong. But that is why the court adopted it a couple years ago. I can't remember which date. I think it was in 2018. And gave, the application does, it doesn't say in the policy, the application does say 4 weeks in advance. But that wasn't included as part of the policy, although, anyway. I can get my notes from when y'all adopted it to when y'all told me what you wanted and why you wanted it. If you would like some more information, I can do that.
Yes, I think it would be good for us to look into this and report back. I'd like to look at the order from Marty's recommendation to see exactly what the wording of that order is. I'd like to go back and examine these things because I think this is an ongoing discussion. And so with that,
I don't, I think that, you're getting into what's an event, and I think that's a lot of what's here. If you have, this was and where you draw that line. You could have a group of people marching down the road. They could be a group of students, anybody happen to walk down to Courthouse Square. That's not an event to me. This is a little bit closer to being an event, but it's also a public gathering that people have the right to do.
And they didn't request
Yeah.
anything from us.
Right, so it's
Yeah, they did.
it's how
I
we.
turned it down.
They didn't request what the county
Electricity.
attorney was
Sure
just
they
talking. Electricity?
Yeah, they did.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, they did. So, got it on the text.
Well, they didn't use it, I don't, did
We
they
didn't
use
provide
it?
it.
was denied, we didn't use it.
They didn't
So-
use it.
I know.
An event under the policy is defined as, one, it hosts more than 20, or two, uses the existing electricity outlets or calls for more complex electricity setup than exists on the property and calls for the temporary exclusive use of space on the courthouse grounds.
So, to me, it goes over what I said. We may want to change the definition of an event. I think we get on thin ice if we do that possibly. But, I think that it was inconsiderate possibly, and probably not the best thing to do with the current situation. But I don't think it was against our rules. And I think the people have the right to
That was-
gather. And I think that what the Veterans Office chose to do and our court order on that is totally irrelevant.
I think so too.
Well, I think you said the right word, and that's the word I should have used too. It was inconsiderate. It was inconsiderate of what we said we were gonna do, what's gonna happen,
Okay.
and inconsiderate for the veteran service officers who deal with the veterans.
Commissioner Harris, do you have a comment?
Yeah, the last several weeks, it's my understanding the Trump train's been gathering at the courthouse on Saturdays and taking off from there. And, we've seen lots of pictures of them, so that's something else that's gone on. I say that, they didn't, the Patriots didn't go through the proper channels. I think there's confusion or misunderstanding as far as the emergency declaration and that maybe they didn't have to. So going forward, I think everybody can be on the same page. Again, I agree it wasn't done the right way, but it was done for the right reasons. And so from my point of view, let's figure out what our policy is going to be going forward, and I think everybody will know from here on out. And it ought to be okay. That's all I got.
That goes back to what Commissioner Letts said, which is, what is a gathering? What Commissioner Harris just said is that the trunk train folks would meet here. This was a staging ground. Get in the cars, get everybody in line and take off from here. It's a central meeting place. And was that a gathering? It was a staging, it was a meeting place. Did they violate anything? I don't think so. The thing is, if you ask for permission and you get denied, I've always gone by the old, it's better to get forgiveness than permission myself, but if you ask and you're told no, that's a different matter. But again, I go back to this is paid for by the taxpayers, this building and these grounds, and we have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, and nothing was harmed. And we've suspended all of what we think of as our rights in America because of a virus where we have a 99% recovery rate.
Well, I think those numbers are changing nationwide, but.
Okay, 98. It's still pretty damn good odds.
I want to be crystal clear. I'm supportive of all the veteran causes. This is not about veterans.
All right.
This is about civil disobedience. This is about defiance. And it's about safety. If the public could see, I'm looking out there at least 8 to 10 unmasked faces gathered at the doorway, shoulder to shoulder, which is not socially distanced, and everything that we're trying to accomplish to fight this virus is being willfully disobeyed. And that's what happened on Veterans Day. It was a defiant act. And if civil disobedience is okay for one group, it's okay for others. And I don't want to have BLM demonstrating here in Kerr County. I think we need to follow the rules. I think there needs to be respect for authority. I think we need to abide by the rule of law. And we did not do that last Wednesday.
But this country has a proud history of civil disobedience, the term you just used. That's how bad rules get challenged and fixed.
So you just bully your way out there and have your event anyway.
That's not what I said.
That's what happened.
That's not necessarily what happened. What did Rosa Parks do? Did she make a mistake? That was civil disobedience.
So now you're defending civil disobedience?
I am. I always have. Absolutely. I defend civil disobedience because it has to be done in order to challenge bad rules. That's what she did.
And so this was a defiant challenge to the county's policy on use of the courthouse grounds?
Suppose so.
And a
It
defiant
could be,
challenge to the
you might
governor's
hear
order?
from them because it could be a misunderstanding. I don't know.
Well, I
But
just
I'm
want-
telling you, my position is that Rosa Parks challenged the norms. That was civil disobedience.
And she was
She's
arrested.
one example.
She was arrested, she was jailed.
That's right.
She got out on bail, and she marched.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And eventually you change things the right way, but you have to draw attention to it. I do believe in civil disobedience, you bet. Always have.
I mean, I think, to me, we're talking, this is a very important topic, but at the same time, I see so many inconsistencies in the governor's order. They allow marches in downtown Austin. They don't do a thing about them. They now, all over the state, they've allowed marches. The governor doesn't do anything. He doesn't direct the state police to do anything. We have football games when we're having thousands of people together, which I support them doing it, but they're doing it. And, I just think the whole current situation with masks and the governor's order is ridiculous. There's no enforcement of it. There's no clear guidance of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I encourage people to wear masks. I think they need to be safe. I think the people that are standing that close to the door are not using good judgment, but that's their choice. And I just don't think that it makes sense for us to try to regulate or I guess enforce the governor's order, because it's not enforceable, and he's not enforcing it anywhere in the state that I'm aware of.
I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill on this particular event.
And we have a policy. I don't think we need to revisit this at a later date. We have a policy which we all probably should read and be familiar with. And I confess that I didn't recall most of this. I remember the food truck discussion, and that's about it.
Sheriff?
Well, and coming from a family of veterans, I think y'all know how I feel, and the judge even called me that day and told me. The only thing I'm concerned about is the policy, because it does affect the sheriff's office. And we ignored it this time, and I think the court needs to look at your policy and either revisit it and redo it on what you want. And I think the Trump train out here in the parking lot is a good point, that nothing was ever said. But if you read the policy, the court order, and I'm like the judge, everything I've ever known about court orders is you violate a court order, it's a contempt of court charge. It can't be. It's a legally enforceable contempt of court.
When there are gatherings that are in a
But-
traditional public forum that are not necessarily, well, they're protests, it's different than having an organized
But
event.
my concern is, under number 2, an event, the definition of an event, okay? General functions, number 1, means any activity held on the grounds involving 20 or fewer people. That covers your dog walkers, all your people just walking through, or your kids tailgating, or things like that. But number 2 says an event means an event that, number 1, holds more than 20 people, or uses the existing electricity outlets, calls for more complex electricity setup than events on the property, and calls for the temporary exclusion of space on the courthouse grounds. Then after you get into that, you go down to requirements under B. Number 1, general functions, which is under 20. No advance notice, written notice shall be required for general functions. But number 2, for events, prior to an event, organizer shall, and I've always been trained there's a lot of difference between shalls and shoulds, shall get approval from Kerr County Commissioners to use courthouse grounds that may be required to execute a license agreement issued by Kerr County, the contents of which may require organizers to secure special event insurance, general liability insurance in the amount of at least $1 million, and naming the county as an insured as a like. Okay? And then there's deposits in there, and there's security. These security organizers of the event shall be required to follow security requirements of the Kerr County Sheriff. And that's where it would involve my department of this. And then it goes through when the application has to be done. It goes through the hold harmless clause in case any of them get injured on the courthouse square. So there's a lot of things where I'm not weighing in one way or another. And I agree that it's public property. But if you're going to have a policy, it needs to be an enforceable policy if you're going to try and involve law enforcement or the law, period. Or you need to do away with the whole policy. And it can't be enforced on one group and not the other group.
Well, I noticed you didn't arrest anybody.
I didn't even show up. I would have, but I mean, I didn't show up not because I don't honor the veterans. I told the judge I wasn't running them off, right? But I agree they violated the policy. And I think if we're going to do it, we need to set the policy clear. Whether it's for them, whether it's for, gatherings like the Trump train when they gather, there's more than 20 people there. What are you going to do? Or are you going to do away with the policy? But it puts us that are required to enforce some of these in a situation just like the governor's mandate. Governor's mandate on masks is totally unenforceable. Because to enforce it, you have to detain. And his order says you cannot detain. It's totally unenforceable. I would never enforce it. But I would, instead of just putting it off and not looking at it again, Harley, I think the policy does need to be looked at or done away with, one of the two.
Is that a workshop thing?
I think
Do we
that,
want to do that?
I think that we need to clarify what an event is.
I don't think we need to have a workshop on it. I don't like this.
No.
Can discuss it.
So just that one part?
To me, yes. But
What do you think, Judge?
I don't know.
It's your agenda item.
It is my agenda item. Because I felt like it was a willful defiance. And I see things out there deteriorating into quasi-anarchy. And if people do what they can get away with. We have rules for a reason. I spoke earlier about my dad, and 77 years ago was the Battle of Bougainville. And late in life, I asked him one day, Daddy, why did you jump out of that plane and start laying out that landing strip on the ground under fire? And he says, because I'm a Marine, and I was ordered to do it. They follow orders. They respect authority. That's what our veterans do. I think we could learn a lesson from them. I really do. These are reasonable rules. There's nothing unreasonable about the rules. And if we have an emergency situation where we've got to call a meeting to try to get something approved, we can do that. But we need to work within the rules and not just make up our own rules.
And we need to remember that we're talking about a couple of different things and trying to make the same rules apply to particular things, and that it is a traditional public forum. And so we can't restrict political speech in the same way we can say, if you want to come here and have a craft sale or something like that, like we used to have on the courthouse lawns, that we can, the court, can restrict that in different ways. But when we're talking about political speech, there's more protections, and the court doesn't have the same freedom to restrict that. So we're talking about a couple of different things.
We're talking about the First
I'm not
Amendment.
talking about political speech. What I'm talking about is safety.
Understood.
I got a 58% blow up out there because people aren't wearing masks, and this event gets advertised by at least one person that says, quote, face coverings are not mandatory, close quote. That is injurious to the public's well-being.
Just a couple of times the gathering of the Trump train, for example, meeting place here to march off, I think that's different from an organized event where they're saying let's violate a governor's order.
Judge,
I would
we
agree.
talk about this, I believe we have a lot of people that want to talk. Should we move on to them? I mean, I agree, I think when you look at what event is, and maybe better clearly define it, but I think that we're not going to resolve that today.
Right.
But those that want to speak to us,
There's no action item today.
None on
I
my
don't think so.
I didn't put an action item on mine, I just discussion.
Okay. So, the public, first one is Bonnie White.
Can I speak,
He'll go first.
can I speak
You don't
first, Judge?
Steve's number two. You're number two. She defers, you can speak.
What?
She says, she can defer,
She
right?
can defer, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Just,
But we keep them in order, the way you turned them in. And so she was number one, you're number two, so you're next in order.
Okay. Well, I'm Jerry Wolf, I'm president of the...
Jerry, I don't want to defer.
Oh.
If I could table it and do it later, that's what
That's
I would
fine.
prefer to do.
Can she speak after me?
We're going to call them in order. If you want to speak now, you can speak now. Or if you want to go to the end of the
Okay.
list, you can do that, whatever you want to do.
I'd be happy.
Well, the question is whether Ms. White can speak speak after me, or does she lose her turn?
She doesn't lose her turn.
Okay,
She goes first, or she goes to the end of the line.
that's fine.
Okay.
I'm Jerry Wolf, I'm president of the Kerr County Patriots Club. I guess public enemy number one. So we need to get some things clarified this morning. A lot's been said, some of it true, some of it untrue. First of all, our club had talked about this. I brought it up about 3 weeks ago in a meeting and said, well, maybe we should do something for Veterans Day. We have done something had planned doing something for 4th of July, which got canceled on July the 2nd because of Governor Abbott's restrictions that he issued on that date, that the county judge informed us we would not be able to hold that 4th of July celebration here on Courthouse grounds, in which we did file a COVID prevention plan, which was approved. We postponed that celebration to September the 14th, I believe now. The dates are getting a little gray. With the Celebrate America event, which kind of a postponed 4th of July. Again, we filed a COVID prevention plan, which was approved by this court. So anyway, this event for the veterans was not something high on my list as a recommendation to the club members. Primarily being because the county always has a Veterans Day celebration here at the courthouse. And I thought we would just participate. In fact, I could not remember, to be perfectly honest with you, whether we laid a wreath, if wreaths were laid that day or not. I even purchased a wreath 2 weeks ago, in anticipation that we would have this event here. Then I contacted the Veterans Affairs Office and was told, they were not planning anything, and she sent me a list of all the events that were planned. I said, okay. And then, of course, the election came, and many of us were involved in the election, and we were to be perfectly honest, tired, mentally and physically pretty worn out. Some of us have been involved in this for quite a while, and I said, no, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to let it go. Then our meeting Monday night, a week ago, inspiration got into everyone. We got to do something. I said, all right, let's just go to the courthouse. It'll be our club. We'll keep it small, and we'll do a little celebration for our veterans. So it started out that way. Well, by Tuesday, when people started planning, it grew. And people wanted to do something bigger. And so we contacted someone in the club. I asked them to contact you about having electricity for a PA system. And you declined it. That's really all I knew about it, actually, is that you had declined the electricity. And I said, all right, we got to go to Plan B. We got to find some way to have a PA system. When we found a PA system that was run off of a battery. And I said, well, that's sufficient for the group that we're going to have. It doesn't have to be a professional level PA system for a small group. And we initially contacted also at that time one of the daily paper, the daily newspaper, or the 3 times a week paper, and let them know, got your message, and said that no electricity, you have to be an event, that word. And so he said, all right, it's not going to be an event, call the newspaper, tell them not to advertise it, cancel it.
I'm sorry.
I can wait.
No, your 3 minutes are up.
Okay.
Okay.
So we did that.
You got a wrap-up sentence?
No, sir, I wanted to tell you the full story.
Well, we limit it. Everybody, got a lot of people here to listen to. We limit your remarks to 3 minutes. That is the policy of the court. Always has been.
All right. Very good. That's.
You have a summation sentence?
Yeah. There were 75% conservatives that voted in the last election. And we voted to continue freedom in this country. Last time, I think I spoke a number of times at the city council a couple of years ago. There was a member on the city council who was an appointed member. And she's a well-known Democrat here in Kerrville. And she decided that she did not want the visitors forum at the beginning of the meeting because there was a lot of, quote, riffraff coming to speak. And I hope that's the way I'm being considered now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make one comment. Jerry, I started with, I supported veterans, I supported veteran service officers, and I support the Patriots, okay? And in their conservative policies. So don't feel offended, okay? I'm certainly not against what you're standing for. I'm just for supporting what we put in place, okay?
I understand what you're saying. I was trying to answer that.
Yeah, okay.
Your concern.
Yeah, okay.
And get to that subject matter.
Right.
Without the background, I don't think that could be explained or tell you what our thinking was and what we attempted to do. The pictures that you will see on our website, a picture of 5 veterans. I want to tell you every one of them is a combat veteran.
I think everybody in here supports the vets.
Well, we did it. We showed them on November 11th that we support them.
But others of us did the same thing.
Sir?
I don't like the implication that we didn't because we weren't at your event.
No, I have no implication
Okay.
of that, and I have no
Sure.
implication that the county did not sponsor an event. That is your decision. You have a different set of rules that you have to
We
live
just
by.
tried to do what the governor said.
Sir?
We just tried to do what the governor said.
And we did too.
Okay.
We left it on the common sense of the people who attended that gathering. It was not a public gathering. It was to be basically a club gathering, but people did talk about it. One of our club members did post something. He is not an officer of the Patriots. I was not aware of it. I don't think I have ever posted anything on Facebook, so I'm not a Facebook expert. I do have a Facebook account, which I probably look at something on there once a month at one website or one Facebook page. That's how much I know about Facebook. But anyway, so something was not done right. That is correct. I would not have said masks are not required or should not be worn. That should not have been said. But other than that, I think what we did was above board and very upfront, and it was meant to no affront to any government agency, group, or person.
Let me ask you about this. Remember when we were at Buzzy's?
Yes.
We sat down at my table, we had a little visit. You told me that Ramon Garcia pulled this poster.
Correct.
I went home that night and have a screenshot.
I see it, I understand, I saw it yesterday. As a matter of fact, I went and looked. When I told him to put it, I was thinking in terms that he posted it on our club's Facebook page. We do have a club Facebook page, which very rarely is used, to be perfectly honest with you. And I thought that's what you were talking about. And it was supposed to be posted on our website. We also have a website, and when I said I told him to pull it off, I did not tell him directly. I gave directions to someone else that was working with him on this. I understood him to have pulled it.
Thank you.
So that is a mistake. And we own up to our mistakes.
The next speaker is Ruth Kremen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just am reiterating government. Government was designed to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and provide for the common defense. We have a United States Constitution that enumerates citizens' rights. We have a Texas Constitution that enumerates citizens' rights. And in Article 1, Section 27 of the Texas Constitution, we have the freedom to assemble. And I don't know about you, but I assembled on my courthouse lawn in Carson County in Panhandle, Texas, most of my high school life. We had cheerleading practice under the shade trees. We sat there with our Dr. Peppers from the Dairy Queen and talked to our boyfriends. We lived at the courthouse lawn. Clarence Williams was our judge, and he never chased us off for any reason. And we had flu in those days too, and we had measles and mumps and chicken pox. The Constitution says that in Article 29 that no law will be made to invalidate any of the laws that are enumerated in the Texas Constitution. Well, the royal mandate from Austin is not a law. A mandate is not a law. And the mandate is written in there that it can last 30 days. Well, this is like 9 months past that 30 days. And I don't know about you, I don't need you to take my temperature. I don't need you to tell me that I have to put something on my face. I might catch a germ. I'm 72 years old. I went to Vietnam. I'm a veteran too. Not a Marine, but I was in the Army. And I want you to know that we as intelligent adult human beings who've cared for our families and now have grandchildren that we help care for don't need the government to take care of our health. It's not an affront to you. Don't lose face because we don't want to wear those ridiculous masks who are doing more harm than good to the people. People's teeth are falling out now because their mouths aren't getting oxygen. Look it up. My chiropractor had 4 cases of staph infection on his patients because they've worn those masks. One had to have surgery to take care of her staph infection. Little children are being brain damaged because they don't get oxygen. Permanently brain damaged. The masks are not doing anything. Read Serious Science and it will tell you that. But it makes us obedient and it makes us look like we're doing what somebody who cares about us thinks we should do. And I thank you, I don't need that from the government. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. John Kremen.
I'm John Kerr. I spent 33 years on active duty. I wasn't in the Guard, wasn't in the Reserve. I just have a question. Were any of you active duty in the military, sir?
Yes.
So we have 1 of 5 that was on active duty. Oh, that's wonderful.
I got an exemption working on defense projects.
But you weren't in the military.
But I was building things you used, sir.
Yes, sir, I understand that. But
Okay.
you weren't in the military.
That's correct, sir.
You didn't go to Vietnam. I did.
It's an entire team.
Sure it is. When I got here in 2003, so it was May, a neighbor came across and said, you know, there's going to be a little parade on Sidney Baker. Sidney Baker is one of those veterans, along with some other guys like Garrett and Lemos. So we went to watch this parade, and it was the first person killed in Iraq. And the Sidney Baker was wall-to-wall people, both sides of the street. And I thought, we have come to a patriotic town. There's a plaque out, not a plaque, but a memorial outside has 88 names on it. And it says, the Kerr County War Memorial in loving memory of those who made the supreme sacrifice. Fortunately, I didn't have to. But I'd come here on Memorial Day and Veterans Day because this is where we should come. I'm proud of my service. I used to get a newspaper here, but it got more and more liberal, so I quit. So I went to look after the Patriots meeting to see where on the internet we could go in Kerr County to do some veterans deal, and there wasn't one in Kerr County. And I understand the person who was in charge decided he didn't want to do it, although that was his job. He made a decision that because of COVID-19, we're just not going to do anything.
She made a decision.
Who? She, you, okay, wonderful. You're not a veteran either,
I am,
right?
sir. I was active duty, so if you'd like to speak to someone in here that was active duty and
Okay.
currently serving, please direct it at me.
Okay, good. After Monday night's meeting, we decided we'd show up. This is a common area. It doesn't belong to the commissioners, it belongs to the people that live in Kerr County. So we decided we'd come. We didn't have electricity. We brought a portable speaker. I got to talk, got to say some things. I figured it was a First Amendment right, so I talked. We're not socialist yet. I think we're getting there close. My wife mentioned Article 1 on Section 29 of the Constitution. To guard against all transitions of the high powers herein designated, we declare that everything in this Bill of Rights is accepted out of the general powers of the government and shall forever remain inviolate, and all laws, etc. So I looked up the word inviolate. Free from violation, injury and desecration, untouched, unbroken, not infringed. So I think we were, my 3 minutes must be up. I'm covered under the American with Disability Act, and so I don't need to wear a mask, and I don't need to tell you why I don't need to wear a mask. I carry it just so that when you say something, I can say, here's my mask. I think it was inopportune for you group, as a group. I was a fighter pilot. When I took off, we had a plan. But once we broke ground, that plan just went out the window because all sorts of exceptions came in. So in this case, we didn't have permission. We didn't have come to commissioner's court to get the holy water sprinkled on us that we could have a meeting outside, so we just met outside. For that, I guess we won't forever be able to do anything in Kerr. When I read a lot of history, I think we need to go back to 1933 in Germany and take a look at what happened in 1933 when they started passing laws and see what happened. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your service.
Colonel, thank you for your service. No, I have something to say to you. As the active duty person here.
Okay, good.
Okay, I do appreciate your service, and the one thing I have learned is you lead by example. And for an enlisted person, having someone in charge of you that leads by example are the ones we follow. The ones that do as we do are the ones we follow. You coming in here and disrespecting and being ugly to folks that haven't served, I wouldn't follow you. That's not the right way to go about doing these. I don't appreciate how you spoke to these people here. And I am a veteran, I still serve. Incorrect on your end, and I'm Air Force. So I was a maintainer with parts that his company probably produced. Have more respect for people.
I was a maintenance officer too, did
Okay.
that for 3 years.
And if you see me bashing him, or anybody else for that matter, for their support here, I don't appreciate that.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. This is how I feel. You guys had a chance. You didn't.
I didn't feel it was right and safe for members of our military to be put in harm's way. That's why I didn't do it that way. Like I said earlier, I took these to our veterans to keep them out of harm's way, to appreciate them in a safe way. So do not badmouth the county for not doing it your way.
With a 99 point something or other survival rate for COVID-19, this thing is just a joke.
Yes, sir.
It really is.
But you were a colonel.
I
Lead
won't.
by example, yes, sir. Follow the chain of command. He asked us as our boss not to do something like this. And I said, okay, plan B. Because I'm speaking, ma'am. Do not be disrespectful. This is not, if you serve, this is not the correct way to speak to people. Either you lost your way or you forgot it. There's no way to speak to someone. Respect is how you get things done. Doing it the correct way. Being angry is not. I will do anything for veterans, and I have. My assistant works overtime when she doesn't have to. We're, beyond capacity, but we make it happen because we care. Coming in here and being ugly and saying things of that nature and that we don't care is completely wrong. That's what you're.
But not allow veterans on a federal holiday.
I get that, sir.
Yeah, I don't think you do get it. I think you.
I've served since 2005. I think I get it.
I started in 1960.
Okay. Well, times they are changing, sir.
Well, they
Policies
are.
change.
Yes, and respect also.
It seems you've lost that. Thank you for coming.
Terry Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Terry?
Terry or Terry?
There she is.
Terry.
Okay, Commissioners, I want to just remind us that our first God-given rights, our constitutional rights are God-given. They're not given to us by man, so they can't be taken away from us by man. The First Amendment gives us a right to peaceably assemble. It also gives us a First Amendment right of free speech. And this courthouse belongs to we the people. And it's the ultimate symbol of the people in our county. Then, as you heard earlier, the Texas Constitution also secures this right. Article 1, Section 27 secures our right to peaceably assemble. Article 1, Section 29, as Mr. Kremen just spoke of, shows that these are inviolable and can't be taken away from us. Not by a pandemic, and certainly not by a governor's executive order that is not even a lawful statute. Article 1, Section 28 says that no man can suspend this Texas Bill of Rights. I'll read it to you. No power of suspending laws in this state shall be exercised except by the legislature. And remember, Section 29 that comes right after that says that our Bill of Rights can't be violated ever by a state law. So then you go to the governor's executive order that says, I've issued executive orders and suspensions of Texas laws, which he has no authority to do. So when you want to talk about the rule of law, there is a lot of controversy about the governor's order because it is not a law. It is an executive order. And if you look at our own Texas Constitution, his order violates that Constitution of an inviolable right that cannot be taken from us. So I think all of us want to abide by the rule of law. There's no question, and we're certainly not trying to project that we're not trying to follow the law. But I'm pretty certain that our veterans and men and women in uniform who were standing on the beaches of Normandy or taking Iwo Jima weren't scared of a virus or worried about a COVID action plan. Nor were the veterans who attended our Veterans Day Memorial last week. It was their choice to determine the risk of wearing a mask or not wearing a mask to participate. And you have no obligation to enforce an unconstitutional order. And at the end of the day, we don't need the government's permission to exercise our constitutional God-given rights on public property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Bonnie White.
Yes. And I'll ask for a point of order from the court if I happen to go a little long. I'm known to be a bit windy, but I seem to be the subject, I think, of this angst. And I first want to say, Commissioner Moser, Marty, there was nothing done with ill intent. There was nothing in this that was done maliciously or willfully. We, as Jerry had stated earlier, many of us in our Patriots organization, where Harley heard about this event, by the way, that's to remind you, it must have been Monday night we talked about it. We had talked about it before, and as Jerry mentioned, he had talked with the Veterans Service Center, and the Veterans Organization here, there was nothing particularly planned, which is fine. And I didn't know until just this moment that, listening to her, that you had asked her, Judge, to please not do it because of the COVID scare. And I also didn't know that you had asked Rusty to come and, I guess, arrest us if we were in willful violation. I will admit that we had many of us in the Patriot Club, that's what we are, we're Patriots. Many of us in that organization had worked the election, some for 3 weeks in early voting, others of us for election day, many of us on the campaign out in the ag barn. And by the way, commissioners, I've been where you are as far as law. I'm not here to argue the Constitution or the governor's ordinance or anything else. I'm here to say that if you want a court order, and by the way, Judge, I was not familiar, nor was I given a copy. Harley didn't know either or remember what the court order exactly said. We were not given a copy of that. Maybe that would have made a difference had we been. This was, in fact, a last-minute decision by people who were tired, who checked through the proper sources to find there was no other event that was going to be officially held, who wanted to do something for, as Jerry mentioned, our veterans in our organization. Roman does not represent our organization as far as his Facebook page. Nobody was aware. I was not that that went out. I will say, when a group of tired people Monday night decided we didn't want to slight our veterans on Veterans Day, we quickly called on some people who were present, one of whom you've heard from today, to see if there were any words that they would like to speak. As a matter of fact, if you thought that this was going to be a willful, malicious event, we never would have asked you, Judge, to say a few words. We were aware that the emergency order had been lifted. We were aware that for weekends, for 2 months before, people had been peaceably assembling at the courthouse. We were not aware there was any court order that set out your parameters for these, quote, events, which you yourself seem to be a bit confused by. If you're going to proceed with this, I've got no problem with you setting up rules and as a court order, enforcing those. Posting them perhaps would be helpful. I don't take the paper anymore, and I don't always look at Facebook either, but if you were to post these ordinances at Heather's recommendation, maybe that would be helpful to people that were going to go out and assemble something. I will say, if you're going to do that, there were a lot of people assembling on the grounds of the ag barn that you mentioned during 3 weeks of early voting. You were there, Judge, in your truck about a foot from my husband and my face without a mask, speaking to us, and others there who were also maskless, meeting hundreds of people. You might want to set a policy for that too, to talk about campaigning and how to set the guidelines there. Again, there was absolutely nothing malicious. We didn't mean to overlook. By the way, Marty, I attended with my husband, who is also a Navy veteran, the breakfast that the Rotary Club did for the service members at the Veterans Service Center on, I believe it was the Friday before. I didn't see anybody with masks. A few, as you mentioned at our event, were with masks. A few there were with masks. Nobody was there. No sheriff was there enforcing any of the mask ordinance at the breakfast with Allen Hill. So, having said all that, this in defense of this particular event, I sense that there are some feelings hurt here, here, and here, and that was not the intent. I agree with Commissioner Letts, I believe, and Commissioner Harris, who said there is an element of confusion that came along with this particular thing. Nobody's intent was to deliberately disobey. As a matter of fact, when we got the message from you, we did call the newspaper. We said, do not put it in the paper. We did call our media person, who happens to be one of your employees, and said, do not put it on our website. And that, we couldn't control anything beyond that, because as someone mentioned today, there was a lot of word of mouth. In fact, I didn't know a lot of the people myself that showed up there that day. So we're outside. If you're going to do something outside, if you're going to do a court order that can be enforced, I agree that the governor's order is impossible, as Rusty has numerous times shared with us, cannot really be enforced. Then you guys come up with some kind of order that can be. And if that is, again, which we were not aware of since events had been going on for weeks before with no outcry, with no meeting like this, none of us had any thought when we went into this, and it was impromptu, a night 2 nights before, night before, that we would honor our veterans. This was not a protest. It was not meant to be incendiary. It was not a patriotic, it was not a partisan event as others were. It was to celebrate our veterans, which we all in this room agree that we should do. No argument there, Commissioner. No mandates to come. There were no mandates to wear or not wear a mask. People came, some with, some without. There was no mandate to declare a party affiliation at this event. So I know that you are custodians over this particular property, and as such, I would not object to a policy. Whether it's the enforcement of your current policy, we should make that public. Us in the public would like to know how to do that. If it's coming before you to get the permission for the particular event, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. We had no safety or security issues. There were no counter protesters. I think it's the least we could do to honor. We had no Memorial Day. I came to one event here, no 4th of July, no Veterans Day planned, and that's fine. I understand your concerns about COVID, but those of us who electively went and participated, I think we're glad that we did. I would remind you that the Republican women went out and laid red ribbons without a policy on the tombs on Spur 100. I know that's not under your purview, but they did do so, and they did so without masks. I noticed the Chamber of Commerce had their event. I saw pictures of them inside where you recirculate air without masks, many of them. So I mentioned the campaign parking lot, the red ribbon ceremony. If there are things that you would like to regulate, I understand that, having been in government leadership myself. Just, I will say in all innocence that no one meant anything maliciously. No one meant to overstep any bounds. Let's say it's something that no one knew was not permitted when it was decided to happen, to occur. That having been said, it was impossible to get the word of mouth around to cancel it. We did everything we could publicly to cancel it. Okay, so I just want that to be clear to you, Commissioner Moser. There seems to be a little angst here. To you, Marty, seems to be a little angst. And to you, Judge, a little angst. This was not willful. This was not malicious. It was a good intent. It was to honor those who, by the way, served through sniper fire, malaria, bamboo spikes, all kinds of leeches and heat and hunger, snakes and vipers, and many, many wars. They weren't, as someone mentioned earlier, worried about a virus with a very small amount. I take nothing away. My brother-in-law almost died. We can do things to prevent it, but I just want this court to know God is not the author of confusion, nor is he of hatred. I don't allow it in my home. I don't permit it in our marriage, and I believe that there are things that have to be discussed. This is clearly being blown out of proportion. I think Commissioner Letts, and by the way, congratulations to you too on your re-election, stated it perfectly. There's confusion that needs to be cleared up. That's what I hope that you can do. Thank you.
Judge, I just asked Bruce with IT if the policy was posted on our website with the application, and he said he believed it was not. So the court can ask him to get that on our website so that the public will be more informed about what those requirements are in the future for particular events.
Well, I think we had a couple applications already from the Patriot Club.
This was one before the emergency order was lifted.
Well.
Yeah, we had, like I mentioned earlier, we had filed the application for
July,
July for the Celebrate America.
Yeah, so you were familiar with the filing for applications to use the courthouse?
Yes, we were. We also might understood what the definition of event was too.
Okay,
we did not use any facilities here at this courthouse. We didn't have any electricity. We had no chairs. This was totally done by us with no help from any county employee.
Thank you. I have one more speaker, Ramon Garcia.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'm here because, first of all, this is a very big issue regarding our right to peacefully assemble. But also, I'd like to first start out by, I think, respectfully, Judge, it was inappropriate for you to invoke my name in the manner that you did earlier, saying that I have and that I did purposely or intentionally defy any type of order or mandate. I think that was inappropriate. I think there's a lot of confusion right now between what the executive order says and what the court orders or procedures may say. I haven't read those. In fact, before, probably about a year ago, I have actually looked for those procedures on the court's website and didn't find them. So I think the county attorney just suggested that those be put on there. I think that'd be very beneficial for the public, for the transparency, and for the accessibility of that. But I'd like to start out with the executive order. There's this constant use of the word mandate. Judge, you have used it. I think some commissioners probably have used it in here. Commissioner Letts said it perfectly. There is no penalty for this so-called mandate. I think we need to look at that. The United States Supreme Court currently is looking at using the two words mandate and command differently. A mandate is an order with a penalty, and a command is simply a command with no penalty. I think I also want to refer to what the Facebook post that I posted. That's kind of where I think that information started to disseminate from. I did post it on our club's Facebook page, I will say that, and I take responsibility for that. I was told by our president of the club that we should not do that. We did not want it to be a club-hosted event. So I immediately took it down after having that conversation with him. And I decided, well, because if we can't host it as a club event, there has to be some way. I wanted to make sure all of our veterans and the community was aware so we could properly celebrate them. So that's what I did. And I would also like to address, I did say that face coverings were not mandated because there simply is no mandate. There is no penalty for it. So that was the reason for that. Now, I'm not sure if the Veterans Department was in any way informed by either our club or by any member that we were putting on this event. But I would like to say for myself and putting on my Facebook page that dissemination of information for this event, that I don't believe we were intentionally trying to bypass that department in any way of informing them of anything. If we did inform them, great. I don't think we did anything wrong, and I completely respect the ability for that department to put on their own events or for this court to approve of the same. We simply put on an event to honor our veterans. And like Commissioner Blue said earlier, if we didn't, I don't believe that we intentionally defied any type of order or mandate, but if we did, and previously and before in our history, we would not be here in the United States had civil disobedience not occurred in England. And we have fled from the king to be here to ensure that our unalienable rights are secured by the people. We would not be here had it not been for that. I completely respect following the rule of law. And Judge, you have over and over said that in this meeting here. So if we do that, I believe that the court needs to make sure that we comply with strict scrutiny as the Supreme Court has decided when creating any types of policies and procedures, and to put those on the website and make sure that your constituents are informed about that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know how to turn that off, but I'll get it. We'll move on to the approval agenda, which is, there's no action on this, correct? So we'll move on to the approval agenda, which is 2.1, pay the bills.
Good morning. Invoices for today's approval include $487,292.49 for Kerr County. For county clerk fees, $221.43, and for the 198th District Attorney Forfeiture Fund, $405.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Moser, second by Commissioner Blue to pay the bills. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Don?
Yay.
5-0. Item 2.2, budget amendments.
There are not any.
2.3, late bills.
There are not any.
And 2.4, auditor reports.
There are not any.
Thank you. 2.5, monthly reports.
I don't believe we have it.
Okay. Is that right, Don?
None.
Okay. Then we'll move on to 2.6, court orders.
We have our court order from our November 9th meetings for 38423 through 38439. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser to approve the court orders as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Information agenda, status reports from department heads. I don't see any in the room. 3.2, status reports from elected officials. And 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners. I don't believe we have anything on executive session.
No.
No, sir.
So there being no other